Alright, so in this video we're going to be talking about the topic of submission, but it's going to be with a little bit of a twist, because usually when you talk about this subject, it will be in relationships, talking about the fact that a woman is supposed to submit to a man. But actually, before that should happen, before it's safe enough for her to do that, before it makes sense for her to do that, I would actually say a woman is supposed to give that level of compliance and submission to the type of guy who is actually more submissive than herself. However, he's not submitting to her. He is submitting to some form of higher power, purpose, set of principles, some divine source in, the way that relates to him and his beliefs. He is modeling for her how submission is supposed to be done, right? This is good. This is good for men. This is good for women. This is good for families. This is good for community. If men were to have this mindset, because a society of men who are leading, but aren't actually led by something that is respectable or divine, is bad business for everyone involved. That's bad business for the men, women, the children, the family, community, and so on, right? And we're seeing this in this in Western society for sure, because what's going to happen anyway is men will lead because they're naturally designed to be dominant leaders or just take charge naturally. Women also like when men do that, so naturally this is going to happen. But when it happens without a level of consciousness with it, that's when it becomes a problem. So men need guidance too. Of course they do, because just because you're a man doesn't mean you know everything, doesn't mean you're a perfect being. So why wouldn't you need some form of leadership in your own life? You could on some level argue that in Western societies without some form of divinity, what will happen is the authorities will serve as that leader. So it will be the media, education system, it will be just random other men that you respect. But this is where things start to become a problem, because these entities putting out the principles that men will follow is a problem, because they don't come from sources that are aligned with nature, divinity, and just good consciousness, right? You're following a guy on, let's say, social media. You think he looks cool. He inspires you, perhaps because he has superficial material items that you want, such as cars, jewels, girls. And then what will happen is a young guy will say, hey, that's a role model. And when that person then puts out certain principles to follow, he will just follow it. But it might not actually be aligned with that which is good. So men need guidance, but they need it from a proper source. They need it from something reputable, you could say, right? And we're living in conditions where they're not getting that, and we're seeing the results of it. So when they're guiding their family, their women, and so on, because as I said, they will do it anyway, they're supposed to do it with guidance on themselves from a place that they trust. So this is why it's important for a man to seek knowledge. If you're a religious man, consider reconnecting with your religion if you haven't really been a devout religious person. If you're a spiritual person, dive deep into spirituality, study it every single day if you can, or in some form just try to elevate and be committed and disciplined to at least learning one thing. Even if it's you pick up a book, you read 2 pages of something a day, like some progress is better than no progress, right? So dive deep into intelligence, knowledge, and try to gain as much wisdom and knowledge of self that you possibly can, because a lot of the answers for how things are supposed to be are already within you. It's very important. In the religious texts, they have set out these principles that if you follow, to be honest, will have a very good effect on the community. This is good for women, because women want to follow men. They want to do that. They want to trust men and surrender control to them, but they want to follow men who are good at following themselves, and not men that follow themselves, but men that are actually good at following, and they can do it themselves. And what I mean by that is they are good at following a worthy leader, a worthy source, God, and so on. Because then the good thing is that his submission to some form of godliness will check him, which is a protective thing for her. So on her side, if she's with the type of guy who has a healthy respect or fear for universe, God, or whatever it is, then she knows that he's going to think twice about just ruling like a tyrant without some form of check on his power. You know, he will be put in a position of power if he's the leader. However, there will be, like, a king traditionally was always supposed to respect God, because it ensured that the king would also respect the citizens that he ruled over. And if he didn't have a respect for God, what would happen is he would just do whatever he wants to do, because no one can check him. You know, no one's above him. So it puts everyone else who's under him in a very vulnerable position. And that's the same thing that will happen in a relationship. So if society ran on these principles that I'm talking about today, more people would be happier, fulfilled, and at peace. For sure, there wouldn't be so much destruction, degeneracy, and disharmony in society, because, again, there's this order to the society, and the order is happening from, you know, the God, universe, divine principles, and so on, being passed down to the man, and then passing through to the woman, and, you know, she's the one nurturing the children and the family, and so on. So if society ran on these principles, I guarantee you there would be much less for people to complain about. And you're seeing the amount of degeneracy, lack of harmony, conflict that is going on, because people do not conduct themselves along these principles that I just spoke about. But anyway, I want to know what you think, so comment down below, let Reemus know, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.